Hi folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and today we're going to make a necklace using September's Bargain Bead Box. The main component is going to be that, what do they call it? It's a donut. They had a special name for it, but I can't remember what it is without looking at the paperwork. But we're going to use that pink donut, and mine has a little chip out of the back. So we're going to wire wrap some beads around that spot and disguise it somewhat. And then we'll also wire wrap the top to bring it up to make a beaded necklace from it. So let's turn down and we'll get this stuff out and we'll get started. Okay, I brought the chain out just in case we don't have enough beads and can't go all the way up the back. But we hopefully will not need that. I guess it's called a go-go pendant. So here is the go-go pendant. See, it looks perfect on the front, but if you look, see there's a chip right there out of the back. So we're going to take some wire and bring three, maybe four strands of wire across here, and then put beads across the front. And then we have one of our clasps. We don't need all of these, so I'll put the rest of them away. We only need one. We're going to use these little beads for our wrapping, and we're going to put some across here too to make our pendant piece. So then we've also got the little copper balls. We're going to use those as spacers between our beads. These are going to be spacers between our bead colors, because what I'm going to do is make this sort of into a color blocked piece, and we're going to put the pink quartz since the rhodonite and the pink quartz are the same color. We're going to put rhodonite up one side, pink quartz up the other. Then we're going to put one of these pieces in, and then we'll do this over here, and put this one here, and then we're going to go back and forth with the colors. Since these are bigger than these two are, this one is only going to go in either side once. And because we're going to use the same amount of beads in both sides, it doesn't have to be in the exact same space as the other side. So what I will probably do is do the rhodonite, and then these here, bring this one over here, and over here we're going to do this and the rhodonite, and then those up there. Though we could do it with this, and then this, and then do the opposite way over here. We'll decide as we go along which we think we'll like best. But definitely these two are going to hit the bottom. And there's going to be one of the little copper spacers between each ball. And then when we get done with the 5 I'm going to do on either side, we're going to put one of these spacers in to break that, make that break there. So the first thing, of course, we have to do is get the little beads on here, make the pendant, and we're also going to use one of these as in the pendant as well as a middle drop. And then these are the ones we're going to wrap here and wrap down here to try and disguise that. It's fine from the front, but like I say, it is damaged. There is a crack right there. You can see how it chipped out of it there. So we don't want that chip to show any more than it has to, so we will bring some wires across it to try and disguise it. So let's get some wire out and we'll get started on that. Got some square copper wire out. This one has a notch at the very beginning, so we're going to trim that off. And I'm going to make sure that these beads are going to fit onto here, because sometimes they don't, and if they don't, it wrecks it right off the bat. So let's get our bead strands out, and we'll cut those open and test them on our wire with those pretty colors. Look at those glisten. So we'll open up our wire and the other one as well. This side looks like it doesn't have a wrapped bead in it, so we'll go from this side. So let's test these and see if they will go on our wire. I'm not sure they're going to. This little one's not. Okay, so it looks like this wire is a no-go, so maybe the other beads will be fine once I get a different wire. This is 21 square, and 21 is relatively small, so I'm sort of surprised it doesn't go on, but let's find something that works. Okay, now we have some 20 round. Now this is actually a bigger diameter, but because it's round, it doesn't have those little corners, so it might still work. Let's see. Come on, where's the hole? There we go. Yeah, that goes on fine. And both beads did. So let's check this one again on this wire. Now see, that will go on this, which is good, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to intersperse the two styles of beads together here to make a little variation on this. There you are. Hi, baby. My little boy is below me. He's a pretty little gray and white kitty. He's wanting a little attention right now. Let's get a couple more of these out. And it's going to go across here where this crack is at, or the chip. So we want to so that's how we're going to do it. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is, this one has one of those little sharp spots, so I'm going to trim it down. And then we're going to spiral this edge now. To do a really good spiral, because it starts out sort of, even no matter what you do, you get that little bit of squarishness there. Get in there and trim that square off. And then respiral. And since you'd already started to spiral, it will keep it from squaring off quite so much. It will probably square off a little bit still, but not as much. So we want a small spiral. I'm thinking just 3 or 4 loops. Like so. and it's going to sit right here, and then we're going to bring it around, and the beads strand will sit across as we come in. Now, because we need to wrap this around, we're going to need to cut this off. So I'm going to cut off a pretty good sized length because I'm wanting at least 3 bead strands. So it's got to go around the whole donut 3 times. And then the beads have to go on. And so I'm going to cut, about this much, I think. Now that may be more than I need, and if it is, that's great. Better more than not enough. But if there's enough left, I might even be able to do the top part. So what we're going to do is we're going to feed this through our go-go bead. Let's see, we want this to show up over here. So this needs to go. And then come up here. Where's that crack? Right there. So it needs to go right here, at the edge of the break here. Then we're going to make sure all the beads are over here that we have on here, and pull this around. Come on, beads, go down. All right. So then, as you can see, we probably need at least 1 more bead up here, maybe 2, because we want to cover up most of the top. Though maybe we can, it's going to move around if we do that. Don't do another bead or 2. So I'm going to see if I can get, I'm either going to have to pull them all off so that I can get my pattern more distinct, or we're going to have to maybe see if we can get 1 more of these little guys here on here. Maybe even 2. I'm gonna drop them. Where's the end? Right here. And these guys are being difficult again. They don't want to go on. There we go. That one went on. Now let's see if it will fill in the gap enough. Come on, I know I've got a bend in the wire right there. You could go over it. Okay. Now, it slid, so we want it back to it. There we go. Right there's its spot. Want this all the way up, if we can get it all the way up there. Then we'll come around. Come on, beads, stay in place. Oh, we slid out of place again. Because we want to be over the top of that crack, which is right way down here. This bead wants to roll around because it's an odd shape. Come here, you. Down here, right there. Okay. Now we want to go around again. Bring our wire through because we don't need any beads on the back. Now we want to make sure that this is tightly in this spot. Now if it doesn't want to stay put, the you can always do the curl in the back once you've got everything in place, so that you have a more set spot, because it will tighten. If you take hold of your pliers and do a twist, it will tighten in that spot, and that may be what we have to do to make sure that we have a good grip where we're at. Okay, so now we need to get another strand of beads on here, or we could just do a one without beads again, like so, and then come back up, and there she goes out of place again. After we get this all tightened up properly, the crack is actually going to hold these in place because it's a smaller spot. So come on, baby, all the way down there. Oops, too far. Where's the edge of it? Right there. And there. Go in there. Pull it tight. Come up again, because we're going to leave a bare wire there at first. And then we'll come back around like so. Make sure we're good and tight in there. And then this one we'll put beads on again. But we're over the top and we don't want that. There we go, right there. Now, if we wanted to, we could do the tightening up right now, and that would keep it from sliding so much, hopefully. So in order to do that, put your finger on your spiral so it doesn't move, and take your pliers and make a tiny little jog in the wire, and that will tighten it up. Do the same with your beaded one. Make sure it's in the spot you want it, and then do a little jog. Now that one didn't seem to move even. It's not moving much, so it must be relatively tight there. And then this one also, do the jog in it. Well, we'll have to get the tightened up good first, because it isn't, because we're still working with we still need to put the beads on here, and we don't want to get this too bent. Otherwise the beads don't want to go on, because these are small beads. They don't have a very large hole. So let's get some of these on here. See how they're fighting going down here because there's some little bends in the wire? You might have to maneuver your wire a little bit until you get the bead to go down on here. And you need to be very careful, because otherwise your little glass bead might break on you. If you need to, you can take your pliers and squish your bend down a little bit that's in there to try and straighten it some. See, I broke off the back half of this bead. So we may want to just go with crystals in this one. The crystals seem to fit quite a bit better. If we can get one or two of these in here, that would be great, because that will help with a bit of a pattern, but if we can't, then we can't. But we do want to try a few of them. And you'll see the crystals fall right down into place without giving you a bit of trouble. Their hole is obviously just a bit bigger. Come on, baby. I'm going to take one of these off and see if I can get one of these little guys to fit. This is the broken one. Let's get rid of it. Fit down onto here without breaking. It's not going to be this one. It's too tight already. Some of these obviously have different size holes because some go through easier than others. Come on, just give me one. There we go. And that one went straight down on, see? So that's good. So now we'll just put some more crystals on this other side. Now, let's get this in place as much as possible around the crack. Okay. Actually, I don't think this one is even going in the crack anymore. I think these have all taken up most of the crack. We'll move them over just a hair so we can get this in here a little better. Okay. Oops. Now she has to come through here. Now these are wanting to loosen up here, so we're going to squish them down some. And I'm going to take my pliers and give this a little tighten because it wants to be a bit loose here. See how that sits. Now, as I say, this is one is, oops, that one went out of the crack that way. But that might be all right because then maybe we can get these other three into the crack better. Now it's in the crack a little bit. We'll push this one back over into here. There now. Now what we're going to do is put another little spiral, but it's going to go up this direction. And if you want to glue these pieces in place, you can do that. I don't tend to, but you can if you want to. See, now we didn't need this much wire, but it's not enough to make the top piece, but probably can get away with taking off this much. So let's start this little spiral for the other side. Cut the little tip off. Well, I cut a little more than I wanted to that time on that little tip, but Come on, spiral. One more little spiral. And now see, this one could have been a little bit more wire. But we're going to force it down here because we want it to stay over the chip. And as you can see, they're moving off again. So I probably will put a little E6000 right here on the back so that they have to stay in the chip. But we'll do that after we're done with the rest of it, because otherwise we will have to wait after we make it before we can finish it up, because it's gonna try and come out as we work on it. And we don't want it to lose its place after we get it worked up. And it's not quite there, because see, this one keeps falling out, so the curl is definitely, one is going to definitely get a little tighter, or a little bit of glue. And then this one, and come on, you are the final. Go over into that slot. We'll tighten you guys up here. That curl is wanting to come over here, and I don't want it to, so we're definitely going to have to put a little glue on there. So there's what this is going to look like until we get the top piece in place. And if it weren't for the fact that I'm doing the top, I have to do the top piece now before we put it on, I might consider gluing it right now. So let's get some more wire, and we'll do the little top piece, which is going to form our bail part. So we need a few more inches of our copper wire. And we'll just cut about this much, since we don't probably need nearly as much of this wire as we did the other, because we're going to be just doing it up there at the very top, right here. And we're going to do it more or less the same, except for without the curls. So what we're going to do is bring this one in, bring her up and around. Let's not put beads on either side. We'll just put a couple of, I'll just put a strand of beads and leave that piece of copper right there. And we'll just put our little crystals on right now, because the crystals are what we're going to use on at least one piece of this. And I doubt if we'll need more than 3. So we'll put the 3 crystals on. Come on, baby, where's your hole? Oop. There's this one. Now it has to have a hole. It came off the wire. There we go. Got these 3 on. Now these will, wow, we may not even need 3. Maybe fine with just 2. Let's see. Well, we'll leave the 3 on. Come around. And there's There's our wire again. Now if we wanted to leave it, we could just leave it right here. I'm going to put on, I was going to put some more of these little guys on, but I'm not sure if they will fit decently for this next strand, but we'll see. Not that one. They are pretty much saying no. Let's see if we can try a few others though. These are some tiny beads with tiny holes, so they say no. So we'll just do another bunch of these crystals. And maybe we'll just do 2 this time and let them fall right beside their buddy right there in that little crevice. Come on. Biggest problem with these tiny hole beads is finding the hole. There we go. So that's right there. So we'll bring it around. No, stay, baby. And then we'll do another with 3 so that we have sort of a pattern going here. Now we'll put that right there so it goes right beside this one. And since we had an outside piece of copper, we'll bring this around up here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bend these back towards each other. Let's get our chain nose pliers to do that. Bend this here. And then this one is going to bend to this direction. And actually, since that is the back one, it can come over if it wants to more. Then when we get where they're going to cross, we're going to bend the longer one up and straighten it up some. And then we're going to take this one and wrap it. And we'll wrap about 3 times. Maybe 4. Now I'm going to tighten this down. And we're going to cut this extra little bit off. Just like we would if we were making an earring or something. And then flatten that. Now we're going to put another bead on the top here. Is that going to be pretty? And we're going to put a bead up here on the top. And I haven't decided. I think maybe we'll use one of these faceted ones because, well, let's see how many there are. I'm going to use at least 10, if not 20 of them in the necklace. So there's 10, 15, 20. It looks like we're going to have just enough to do what I want to do here. So we'll cut the string and take off one bead, just one. That's all I want. Put the rest of them back in their bag. Looks like I broke more than one of those little beads because there's another one. And then we're going to slide this onto here. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Come back here. I need you. And then we're going to act like it's any other regular beaded piece, and we're going to make a wrapped loop. Now once you've got that around, I used my bell making pliers. I like my bell making pliers for making wrapped loops. They make a nice consistent loop. And then I'm going to wrap this baby around here. Cut off the excess. And now, as you can see, I've made it go a little crooked, so I'm going to put my bell making plier back inside of this. Made it more than a little crooked. It looks like I shrunk it some too. And turn it just a bit till it rounds out again. So there is our pendant. And as I say, we're going to glue this piece down with some E6000 over here to make sure that our piece doesn't go out of our crack here. But we'll do that later. Well, actually, I can do it right now because I am going to use a regular bell to hold this on, I think. So in doing that, if I'm going to do that, then this is going to sit aside for a while. So I think I will put a little glue on this right now. Get these tightened up some more. Come on, you come up here. In this slot. And that did come out of the crack some. So I want that in the crack. I want all of them in the crack if I can do it. Especially since this wire right here wants to hug the other one closer. There, that's better. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get my silicone mat out because I never glue directly on my regular mat. That's going to be pretty. And we're going to turn it over, and I'm going to glue it here on this side so that it stays put, hopefully, in our groove here. So we'll get our E6000 out. And we're just gonna put a dab of that right here where it's in the crack. Make sure it still looks good on that side. Get the whole thing. Really wants to go over to that one side. Well, actually, it's in the crack. The other two are moving. We don't want that. They have to stay in place. So now that we have them in there, put a little glue right here and then a little bit up here. Let's make sure that's all the way across there. Now, I don't usually do this to my wire wraps. They usually hold steady pretty good. But this does have that crack there, and I definitely want these wires to stay in it. So that's why I am doing it right now. So now we'll close the E6000 up, and we'll put this aside for a while. And we'll come back and check on it in a bit. I'm going to take some of this excess glue that's along the edge off. Now it's got a few little runnels and stuff. E6000 will do that, and if you come back and clean those up before it gets dried, really dried, they will be fine, and you can pull them off. But let's set this one aside for right now, and we will check on that later. In the meantime, we're going to put the little beads away and the wire because we don't need those anymore. And then we will start on our necklace piece. Making sure I'm not putting any broken beads back in the bag, since I did break a couple of these. They are glass. They will break. So you need to be careful when you're working with them. And as I was trying to push it onto that wire, a couple of these did break. So we're done with those. And we're going to get some stringing wire out, and we're going to start the next portion of this, which is to start putting the necklace piece together. Got some pink rhodochrosite medium beading wire out, and we are going to get about, I want this to be about 22 to 24 inches, so I'm probably going to get like 26 inches of wire out. A lot of times I just bead right on the spool, but I'm not feeling like it today. So I'm just going to take 26 inches, which is right here, and cut that off. And so we have our wire. And I think I'm going to put these in the middle. So we're going to do, well, in the middle of the two colors. So we're going to do the rhodochrosite and the rose quartz, little 6mm on the bottom. And then we're going to do these in between, and then we'll switch these colors over and do this and this up here. So what we need to do is we're going to put a bead stopper on one side here. And we're just going to start with one of the sides. So I think we'll just get out 5 of these little rose quartz ones. Isn't that a pretty pink? I love that pink that they use for this cording. Of course, it makes your beads look more pink, of course. And I do have a darker pink wire, but it's not this bright of a pink here. So we're going to do 5 of these, interspersing it with a little copper ball. There's the first 3. It's actually sort of a pity we don't have that, because it really makes the rose quartz shine, doesn't it? So okay, so now we're done with this for right now, so we'll set it aside. Now between these strands of beads, we're going to put these to make them a bit more more definition, I guess, defined colorways there. And now we'll put the 5 big ones in here. You know, I cut this string. You should be able to find it. There it is. Ooh, there's a knot in there. Okay, so and one more here. And we switch to the rhodochrosite. It's funny how this plastic cord cuts a lot easier than the regular. Okay, so we got 5 of those out. And we'll do this 5. There we go. Okay, there's our first little strand. Put another bead stopper on here before I do anything else so I don't lose my beads. So here's what this is going to look like. And this is a little over 6.5 inches. So about 6.5 inches for this side. So when we get the other 6.5 inches, it's going to be 13 inches. So we need quite a few more inches than that. So we'll definitely put another round of the larger ones up here. And maybe even some more of the rhodochrosite if we get to that point. So let's loosen this side up, since we know we're going to need more beads, and we'll start and put the bigger ones back on this side. So put one of these back in this side. Now I almost wish that I had more of the rhodochrosite, because then I might just color block back and forth between the two, because that knot's getting in my way. We're going to have to cut that off. Because it gives a variant of color, which is really cool. I like the variant of color that it's giving us here. But we do what we do. Yep, we got enough for the other side. So that's going to be for the other side. So now we'll just put these 5 on this side. I like this brown little stripe that's in this one. A little of the matrix left there. Of course, on the other side, I'm going to put the rose quartz towards the bottom, the little rose quartz, and then we'll put the rhodochrosite here in the middle between these two bigger pieces here. So it'll change it up just a bit here. So now let's see how long we got it. Now it's a little over 9, so we're about at 18. So, but the next step is going to add a little length, and that is because we're going to put our bail down here, which I have to get out still. And in order to put the bail in, we are going to add some of the small beads. So let's see, we got to make sure we have enough of these for both sides. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And we'll have 2. And if we need those 2, we have those. So now what's going to happen is we're going to put one of these in here. And I said we didn't need those small beads anymore, didn't I? I lied. We're going to put some of those right here, because frequently the bail can slide over small beads. So we're going to put a couple of the crystals and then some of the other little ones. Come on, baby, where's your end? Goodness gracious, you'd think they'd just fall off. There they go. So there's a few of them. And now they are falling off. As I said, you'd think they would, so there they go. So we'll put a couple of these in here. And then a couple of these. More like 3 of these. Come on, you got loose ones there, so just give them to me. There we go. There's more than enough there. And then we're going to put 2 crystals over on the other side. But first we need to find a bell. So I'm going to go find a bell and I'll be right back. Okay, even though I know I have some copper bells, I of course cannot find them. So we are going to improvise, and I am going to make a little wire spiral. And then, do I want this one? Nope, we used this down here, didn't we? Then we'll twist the head of our pendant. I'm not going to make it a long one, 3 or 4 loops. That might be good. So then we'll cut this loose and we'll make a second one with the same amount of loops. Make sure these are down all the way. So we don't want them poking anyone. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to slip this over these beads, and it will slip over all of them, so it's going to move around as it sees fit. Let's since we're going to do this with this, I might as well get these little crystals on right now so that I don't drop them. I'm notorious for dropping things. So there's that. Now we're going to make another one of these little spirals to go on the other side. But before we put that side on, we're going to twist our bail on, twist the loop on our on our pendant so that it can just, its loop can go right in between these two. So we'll do 4 loops again here. Now I did this a little bit beyond 4 so that if I want to trim it, I can trim it some. Go right there. I'm going to trim the other side up some because it's up a little higher than I want it to be. So we'll just trim her right here. And then we have our other side. And we'll squish it down, make sure it's squished down enough so that it matches the others. Now, like I say, before we put on this, the pendant, here it is. The glue is not quite all the way dry, but it's feeling all right, so I think we can put it on. What we need to do is take our pendant top. I have to do it by hand because it doesn't want to twist it so it's sideways instead of that way. There we go, like so. Now that that is done, we can put this through here and then put our other little spiral of wire through here. Now it looks like, when it comes together, like it's just one big spiral. So now we'll just start our beads on the other side. But I was going to say identical to this side, but not identical, because we're going to put the rose quartz, the little rose quartz, up right here first. So let's get the 5 of those out. And we'll get moving on those. Now I'm not going to try not to move my pendant around too much because I don't want to jerk that not quite dry, that glue around. And if I wanted this other side to be this exactly the same, I could have started with the rhodochrosite, but I'm not going to, obviously. Okay, then the big one. We're going to need some more of these little guys out, so let's pour some. And now we need first of our 5 of the big ones. So let's get the 5 out. And we'll get started on those. Now the big one, and now the rhodochrosite for this side. So we need 5 of those. Next is the 5 large ones again. Looks like we may have one of these big ones left. Put that in the package. I was going to say it's unusual to have an extra, just one bead left, but we do have one down here on the pendant, so that's probably would have been the other. That's pretty. Okay, let's see what our length is here. Looks like we're going to be 20 inches. Now the question is, do we want to put a little more on, or is 20 inches good for us? I could put another little bit on and make it like 22 or 24. So I'm going to give this a little bit of thought here. The clasp will give it a little bit of more length, of course, but let's give it a little thought and I'll be right back. Okay, after pulling it up onto myself to see what the length looks like, I do think I want a few more beads. So what we're going to do is we are going to put these spacers on here. And then I'm going to put a round of the rose quartz over here and a round of the, excuse me, you can't see, round of the rose quartz on this side, since we still have the rhodochrosites here. And then we're going to put a round of the rhodochrosite on this side. So let's get going on that. So we have just, whoop, trying to escape. So we want 4 of these out. We might as well put the rest away because we'll be done with them. And we want 4 of the rose quartz out, or 5 I should say. So then let's get the rhodochrosite on this side. There's that side. And now we'll put this on this side over here. And now we have this side together. Let's get these lengths about the same. And now we couldn't make it longer if we wanted to. We're out of room here, down here on this side, for anything other than putting on our clasp. So we can put the rest of our little metal balls away. So, and we're not going to use the chain, so we can put it away. Let's see, how dry is it? We don't want to play with this too much because E6000 takes about 24 hours to dry up really good. But it's looking pretty nice. I like it. So let's get some copper crimp tubes. And we'll put this clasp on here. So now, since this is relatively heavy, if you want, you could double crimp. And I might do that. I think I have enough room. So when I double crimp, I like to have something in between to give it a little oomph. So we're going to get out one of these little, I think we'll go with one of the little crystals. There we go. There's one came out at least. More than that, but that's all right. We'll leave. Okay. Well, we'll double crimp as long as we can get these to go through the little crystal twice, I should say. So, because what we need to do to double crimp is to do like so. Then you'll want to go through your clasp, come back through over here. Actually, you know what, I'm going to get some of the extra wire from over here, because once I'm done over here it will naturally give me some extra. So that way I have more wire to work with here on this side. There. Okay, so then, oh, went through the crimp tube. You go back through. See if we'll go through the crystal. It is not going to go through the crystal a second time. So that's not going to work. We're not going to do that. Take the little crystal back out. These make little copper balls as you crimp. So we'll still have two crimps. We're just going to have them be side by side instead of with a pretty in between, because I don't want to put another rose quartz or anything large in between there, but the crystal isn't going to fit, so we don't want to push our luck. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do is get this to about where we want it. Then we're going to crimp the top one. I use a magical crimper. You put the crimp right in the middle of the little divot and you just go around in a circle till it makes a little ball out of your crimp tube. Like so. Now we're going to do the same with the second one. See the divot in there? So you just go right into that divot and squish. And then turn it and squish again. And again. And you keep squishing it down till it forms that little ball, or it just won't squish anymore. So there we go. We've got a double crimp. Now I've left enough to go over this rose quartz. So now we'll roll our beads back over this direction. No being funny here, guys. Go through. There we go. We're not going to use that. This is all the way over here. Okay. Now roll it up in a sort of ball so that you don't get your crimps too tight. And we'll put our two crimps through here. Roll them down and then get our piece of our clasp. Now, I think I noticed that this hole in the rhodochrosite is smaller than the rose quartz, so we may not be able to feed into it. So we'll see here if it will go into there. Oh, it does just fine, no problem. So we want to pull this up that's about where the other side is. Actually, the other side's a little bigger than that, so no problem. Okay. Get your crimps over that crimp tube and squish and turn and squish. Now you want to do that with the second one as well. And pull tight. Now, as you can see, I left a little more space in this one than this one. I don't think many people are going to notice that, so I don't think it's a problem. Let's trim off our extra teeny bit of wire, and it is a teeny bit. So, and our necklace is finished. Now we need to put our two crystals away before they get lost. Oop, come here, Crystal. Where'd you go? There we go. We almost lost it anyway, didn't we? So here we go. Here is our necklace all finished. As you can see, this will either snug to it if it falls down, or it can go to the side a little bit. Gives a little extra. Our pendant does need to dry for 24 hours, so we'll need to not handle it too much. But you can see how that's hidden, especially with the glue in there. Hidden that crack out of there pretty good. And there's our necklace. Hook it together here. Pretty little color blocking with our pinks. And it is done. I hope you enjoyed making this with me. Let's turn up and talk for a bit. So here it is. It's our pretty pendant necklace. Over here a bit more, girls, darling. And sort our color blocked pinks in our set there. That turned out pretty. This has been using the September Bargain Bead Box Misty Rose. And it's all antique copper, rhodochrosite, and rose quartz. I think that turned out quite nicely. I hope you enjoyed making this with me. I enjoyed making it, and I hope you like it. This has been Rose from In Rose's Garden, and we'll see you for the next project.